The next stage, we're going to add some jQuery just to make things a little more interactive. So this is what we're going to do. When I launch this, and obviously I'm going to give you a small example. jQuery is a vast topic. I have a separate course on that, at least the fundamentals of it. And here, when we get to the enter date box, if we place our mouse over it, perhaps we want to show the calendar only then. And I'm thinking of it that way because the calendar, as you can see, is a pretty big control. It's pretty big. It takes a lot of space here. So maybe I want to show the calendar only when I hover my mouse over where it says enter date. Or maybe even when I click into the box. See that? So I'm going to close this for a second. And how do we actually accomplish this? So open up the Solution Explorer and then right click, name of website, go over to manage NuGet packages. And from here, this is where you add additional functionality to your project. There's a great number of frameworks that obviously people have made over the last many years. One of them, I'm just going to type this. I'm going to type JQuery. And just make sure you use the one that says jQuery UI combined. All right, and then install it into the project. Give it a second here. Now, if you see something like this, in my case, it simply means that I've used it before in this project. Obviously, I experiment a lot. So in my case, I just say yes to all, doesn't matter. Okay, so make sure you've got in the Solution Explorer a scripts folder that contains files that look like these. Again, this is not a class in jQuery specifically. It's a very vast topic. Let me close it. I want to show you how you can do at least one useful thing with it. So make sure you have the scripts folder, and then it contains files that look like the ones that you see on the right side in the Solution Explorer, and so on. Make sure you've got those basic things. Now, to make use of everything, take a look. You're going to go up to the top of your code here, and right under where it says this, href stylesheet.css, you're going to punch down to the next line, and then at the next stage, you're going to add references to jQuery. Right, so if you drag that in there like that, and then let's leave it at that for a second, and we're going to create our code. So I'll say the following. I'm going to add a script block at the top. That's how you define a script. And this script basically will run on the browser side, so it's going to make the page interactive. So when you click on things, they execute some kind of behavior, that's all. All right, how do you make use of jQuery? Well, again, vast topic, but I'm going to show you the very, very basic things that you can do. First of all, to call jQuery, you put down the dollar symbol like that. That means jQuery. Okay? Then you specify document. The document is the entire object that you have here in front of you, okay? And then you're going to type dot, and then ready. And ready is a function that runs essentially once the document is fully loaded and everything is ready and good to go, and all the elements are available in your browser, then you can start operating on them, okay? And then you terminate this as follows, like that. So make sure you have this basic opening and closing right there. So you're going to grab with jQuery, that's the meaning of the dollar symbol essentially. You're going to grab the document and then make sure that you've got the ready function. And now, take a look. Within that, you're going to type function like that. And I'm going to spread this over multiple lines now as follows. You can get rid of that one. And here, take a look. This function right here, like that, will execute when we interact with the page. So at the next stage, I'm going to define the body of that function. I'm going to say an opening brace and a closing brace. So jQuery basically grab the document. Once the document is ready and everything is available inside and loaded. Otherwise, if you try to do things prematurely, they may not be found and this may not work. And then you're going to execute this function. This is a block, a function. And it's defined by curly braces. So here, take a look. I'm going to do this. I'm going to type dollar symbol. And I would like, using jQuery, to be able to select an item in the page, okay? So to do that, take a look. I'm going to scroll down. And I'm going to find the calendar control because that is the one that we want to be able to show and then hide as an example. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to scroll down until I find the calendar control wherever that is located. And that is here. This is my calendar control code. I'm going to enclose that in a div like this. Okay. I'm going to give this div an ID of calend div. I'm calling it calend div. And make sure you put the code that defines the calendar object into it like that. So it's between it. So I'm doing this so that I can have control over the appearance of this item here. All right, so now I've got this div, I've got an ID applied to it, and I can take control of it with JQuery. So go back to the top, and here, between the double quotes that you see, type simply hash mark, and then calend div. That means you're going to grab it, and you're going to type slide down, like that, over, say, a period of 500 milliseconds. That means half a second. Okay? And slide down means simply open it over a period of 500 milliseconds. That's what this is saying. Just slide it down, slide it open, in other words. Now, we want this to execute when we click into the box that represents the date. So to make that happen, look very carefully now. You're going to have to do one more thing. You have to take this line and wrap it as follows. You're going to have to type this $symbol. Then you're going to type, and now again, you're going to have to get the text box. That is the date text box. That is what we need to get. Okay? So to accomplish that, take a look. I'm going to go down here, and I've got this box right here. I hope you see it. And that can also be enclosed in a div, right, as an example. So I'm going to say here, div. I'm going to type ID, and I'm going to call this the date box. And then make sure you take the closing tag for it and pull it down. And make sure that within the div opening closing tags, you have this code, all of it. And now I've got this enclosed in a div, which means I can operate on it using jQuery. So let me go back to the top. And now that I'm here, I will type hash mark. And then I've got to think about what I have down below. Again, not the easiest thing in the world, right? To keep in mind 500 different pieces of information. But you can. It's designed to stretch your mind, I'll tell you that. And we called it the date box. Okay, remember, date box right here, that div. So let me come up top and let's see here. I'm going to put that as follows. I'm going to say here, date div, and then I'm going to say, as an example, dot click. All right, I'm going to type function, and I'm going to define the body of the function as follows. So again, you have to be super careful. If you carefully add the parentheses and the curly braces, everything has to be matched perfectly. So each function that you see has its own set of curly braces. I'm going to pull this in here. All right, tab it over a little bit. All right, and then make sure you close it like that. And it gets formatted correctly in that case. So what this is saying is the following so far, that you're going to get the document with jQuery. Once it's ready, you're going to call functions on it. That is that block. Specifically, you're going to select, that's what this means, jQuery select, essentially, the date div. And when someone clicks on it, the calendar div, as a result, will slide down over a period of 500 milliseconds, which is, remember, about half a second. That's what this is saying so far. Okay, so now that we have that available, let's hit Google Chrome. Let's do the best we can launching it. And we want to see what happens here, if anything. Okay, so right now it looks pretty boring, right? But remember that the date div here, take a look, right click, and then go to view page source for a second. And scroll through it. Remember that the date box here, see that? That's the div. Okay, and if you scroll up to the top, you're going to see our jQuery here also in the script block in the head section. I'm going to close this for a second and close this again. Notice that the calendar is showing at first. Imagine when it begins so the calendar doesn't show. So close this. When you first launch the page, you don't want to see the calendar. So scroll down, and again, you're going to have to find this quantity right here, the calendar div, and you're going to have to set a style on it as follows. Type style and then equals and then display : none. What that is going to do is ensure when the page first loads that the calendar is not visible at all. That's what it's going to ensure, okay? It's display : none. So we have all of our code. I want to take a look at the effect. The only thing is this. Take a look down below. Let's see, where is that thing? The date, here, the date box. You see how I have it spelled as little date box like that? Make sure that you have the capital D and the capital B, or you're going to get some kind of error. It won't work. So make sure here it says date box, capital D, capital B, and then up top in the jQuery it also says date box that way. I hope you've got that. So make sure those are consistent. So jQuery can find the correct object, and now let's hit Google Chrome, take a look at the effect of everything. Let's see what happens here. All right, so we have a simple control. And notice that if you click here, nothing, right? You can put in the Tom, you can put in that. And when you click inside enter date, notice that it expands and it shows you the calendar. And then when you click here, it inserts that value and collapses everything back. Now, that behavior, right? So one more time. Click into it, you can select it, and then it collapses everything back. Maybe that's an okay behavior, but perhaps it would be good to think about how can I have it so that after I select a date, it doesn't collapse it. That's something to consider, okay? I personally don't feel that this is particularly bad already. I think it's already pretty good. It goes away, right? Gives you more space here. And then you can click, and if it needs to be shown again, it gets shown again. Okay? But then, that's a more serious problem. Take a look. When I navigate through the months, so when I click on go to the next month, it collapses also. I don't think in that case I really want it going away, the way it's going away here. You see that? So that's something that has to be considered also. Keep that in mind. Okay, I'm going to click submit here. And it's been added on the bottom. I'm going to delete from the bottom. And that looks good also. Okay, click back in the box. When you select the date, that's okay. It selects the date, sticks it in. When I click, however, on the controls that navigate through the months, it collapses it. It makes the new month available, so it's consistent in that way. It makes the new month available. But I think when you click here, you very likely just want to be able to scroll through the months without get collapsed, correct? So I'm going to close this. And that's it for this one. I'm going to leave it here. I'm going to fix up the jQuery a little bit. So again, with jQuery, a vast topic, I have a course on it. The big idea is, keep in mind, look very carefully, the curly braces are matched as a pair. Those two parentheses are matched as a pair. Look very carefully at the matching. Always they have to match as a pair. Okay? Those two are matched as a pair. The opening one and all the way on the bottom matched as a pair. Same thing with the curly braces. Make sure the curly braces match as pairs. So that one matches the one below it. And remember, in simple English, this symbol here, the dollar symbol, means basically use jQuery. That's all. Right? Give it a document. Once the document is ready, then you can execute a series of functions that specifically mean this. Make jQuery select a date box, and when someone clicks on it, like that, the calendar div slides down over a period of half a second or 500 milliseconds. Remember, the file this time is under lesson resources. I basically have taken all of this and I've just extracted it into a zip. And I don't have any PDFs at this stage because it's too much code. And I'll see you in the next video.